Hi friends, welcome to our YouTube channel Knowledge Academy. The main of this lecture is discuss about the TSPSC General Studies previous year questions in a very detailed manner. And if you like the content of our channel, then please do like, share and subscribe our YouTube channel and don't forget to press the bell icon button. So whenever you upload a new video, the direct notifications comes on mobile. If any improvements needed in our lectures, then please do comment in the comment section. We will definitely include all those improvements in the coming lectures. So why to waste more time? So let's get started. So now we are going to solve the 46th question. See the question here. So what is the cost of printing rupees 500 notes in India? So choose the nearest answer. So what are the four options? Option A, 3 rupees is the correct solution of this question. So in this question they are asking what is the cost for printing the 500 rupees in India. So option A, rupees 3 is the correct solution of this question. So let's solve this numerical. So now we'll discuss some of the important facts of the different types of rupee notes which are available in India and the printing cost. So for one 10 rupees note to print, the printing cost is 1.01 rupees, and for 120 rupees note, the printing cost is 1 rupees, and for 150 rupees note, the printing cost is 1.01 rupees. To print 100 rupees note, the printing cost is 1.51 rupees, and to print 500 rupees note, the printing cost is 2.57. But this 2.57 is option is not present in the question. So therefore that it is nearly 3 rupees. So but the exact value is 2.57 rupees, but we are going to equate to nearly 3 rupees. To print the 2000 rupees note, the printing cost is 4.18 rupees, and these are the different types of notes which are available in India and the printing cost for one note. Only for one note, this is the printing cost. So from this we can, in the question they have asked there, for 500 rupees note, what is the printing cost? It is exact value is 2.57, but the 2.57 is not present in the option. So we are going to nearly equate to the 3 rupees. This is the nearest value. So therefore we can assume that in order to make a 500 rupees note, the printing cost is 3 rupees, but the exact value is for 2.57 rupees. Now we are going to solve the 47th question. See the question here. Since which year railway budget was separately presented in India? So what are the four options? Options in 1921. So from 1921 year onwards, the railway budget was separately introduced in India. So let's discuss something more facts about this one. So now we'll discuss some of the important facts of the railway budget. So before 1921, the railway budget was merged with the general budget. Means the railway budget was told itself in the general budget. But after the 1921, based on the recommendations of the William A.C. Forth Committee. So based on the recommendations of the William A.C. Forth Committee, then after 1921, what is happened means they have separated the railway budget and the general budget. So therefore these two are separate budgets. So general budget and the railway budget. After the 1921, but before the 1921 both are merged, but after the 1921 this general budget and the railway budget are separated, so therefore they are separately executed. This was told by the committee which is William A.C. Forth Committee. So basically this William A.C. Forth is a person, he was a British railway economist. So based on his recommendations only, this railway budget was separated from the general budget from 1921. See, up to 2017 this practice was continued, but after the 2017 based on the Bibek Debroy Committee recommendations, this railway budget was merged with the general budget. So based on the recommendations of the Bibek Debroy Committee, this railway budget was merged with the general budget. So now from 2017 onwards there is no separate railway budget. It was included in the, or it was merged with the general budget. So basically this Bibek Debroy is nothing but this person is an economist and also is a member of the Niti Aayog. So if you see carefully, from 1921 to 2017 only this railway budget was separately executed, but after the 2017 this railway budget was merged with the general budget. So therefore the last railway budget was separately executed on the 25th February 2016 by the Mr. Suresh Prabhu. So after that again from 1st February 2017 Arun Jaitley became the first finance minister to present combined railway budget and the general budget. So from 1st February 2017 onwards, the Arun Jaitley became the first finance minister who to present the combined railway and the general budget. So this Suresh Prabhu was the last person to separately execute the railway budget, and Arun Jaitley was the first finance minister to present a combined railway and the general budget. So this Bibek Debroy Committee told all these recommendations to the Mr. Suresh Prabhu, and then this Suresh Prabhu told all these recommendations to the Arun Jaitley. So therefore, then Arun Jaitley discussed about the merging of the railway budget with the general budget in the parliament, and then parliament has told, okay, then only from 2017 only this railway budget was merged with the general budget. So now we'll discuss some of the important facts also. See, first budget of India was submitted on the 18th February 1860. So 18th February 1860 by the James Wilson P.C. Mahalobis. So he is called as the father of the budget in India. So the first budget of India means British India. The first budget of the British India was submitted on the 18th February 1860 by the person name which is James Wilson P.C. Mahalobis. He is considered as the father of the budget in India. And the Lord Dalhousie. Lord Dalhousie is said to be the father of the Indian Railways, and he was basically a Governor General of the British India from the 1848 to 1856, because he is considered as a father of the Indian Railways because he is the person who introduced the railways to the India. So he is the person who introduced railways in India. That is the reason he is said to be the father of Indian Railways. So he was a Governor General from the 1848 to 1856. So John Mathai presented the first railway budget for independent India in November 1947. So John Mathai was the first railway minister to present a separate railway budget for the independent India in November 1947. But for the first person to the British India was the James Wilson P.C. Mahalobis. But for the British India means for the separate India means for the independent India means it is John Mathai. See, and Lalu Prasad Yadav remained railway minister from 2004 to 2009 and presented the railway budget 6 times in a row. Yes, this Lalu Prasad Yadav was railway minister from the 2004 to 2009 and is the only person who six times in a row he presented a railway budget. See, Mamata Banerjee in 2000 became the first female to present the railway budget. So Mamata Banerjee is the only female who is the first female to present the railway budget separately in the 2000 year. And if you see, India is the only country in the world where a separate railway budget was presented separately. So from this 1921 to 2017 up to these years, this railway budget was separately introduced along with the general budget. But across all over the world, this railway budget was merged with the general budget. But only in India, from 1921 to 2017, this railway budget was separately executed, and the general budget and the railway budget are separately executed. But remaining in all over the world, this railway budget was merged with the general budget. So finally, what I am trying to say is here, before the 1921, this general budget and the railway budget are same. They are merged together. From 1921 to 2017, these two are separated. And after 2017, again they are mixed. So this was separated based on the William A.C. Fourth Committee. This person is nothing but is a British railway economist. And based on the recommendations of the Bibek Debroy Committee, this railway budget was merged with the general budget. So he was basically an economist and also is a member of the Niti Aayog. See, the last finance minister who presented the railway budget separately was Mr. Suresh Prabhu on the date 25th February 2016. And the first finance minister who presented the combined railway and the general budget was the Arun Jaitley on the 1st February 2017. So this William P.C. Mahalobis is considered as the father of the budget in India because he is the first person who introduced the budget in the British India. But John Mathai is considered to be the first person to represent the railway budget for independent India in November 2017. Suppose independent India means John Mathai, for British India means he is the P.C. Mahalobis. And Lalu Prasad is the only person who represented the railway budget 6 times in a row. And Mamata Banerjee is the first female to represent the railway budget in the year 2000. See, up to 1921 to 2017, this railway budget was separately executed along with the general budget. But all over the world, this railway budget was mixed with the general budget. These are some of the important facts of this railway budget. So now we are going to solve the 48th question. See the question here. In 1977, the Coca-Cola company left India because of. So because of which reason the Coca-Cola company left India in the 1977? So what are the 4 options? Option D, reluctance to reveal its secret formula to government. So because of this reason only, reluctance to reveal its secret formula to government, because of this reason only, the Coca-Cola company in 1977 left the India. So let's discuss something more facts about this one. So now we'll discuss some of the important facts of this Coca-Cola company. So this Coca-Cola is nothing but it is a carbonated soft drink. It is basically a carbonated soft drink. It was invented in the 19th century by these two persons, which are the John Smith and the Pemberton. So these are the two persons who invented this Coca-Cola drink in the 19th century. So this company was introduced in the 8th May 1886. So in this date, 8th May 1886, this company was started. So therefore here, what has happened is, this company was started in the 1886. So this company was expanded to all over the countries and it came to India. So this company was expanded from the 1886 and finally it came to India in the 1956. So in the year 1956, this Coca-Cola company, it was the first time it came to India in the 1956. Then from 1956 to 1977, this company was present in the India, but company left the India in the 1977. So from 1977 to 1993, this company was not present in the India. Again, this company came back in 1993 and up to now it is present in the India. So we can say that this company was present in India from 1956 to 1977 and again from 1993 to presently it was there. So therefore we can conclude that from 1977 to 1993 this company was not present in the India. The reason for company to left on the year 1977 is nothing but here at that time in the 1977 the industry minister at that time was the George Fernandez. So here George Fernandez was the industry minister of India in the year 1977. So this Coca-Cola company is not able to follow this regulations, which the rules which are FERA rules. This Coca-Cola company was not able to follow these rules which are FERA, means Foreign Exchange Regulation Act. These rules was not followed by this company, Coca-Cola company. It means in these rules it is also there, this company has to tell its secret formula to the government also, and the government also this company has to tell. All this is present in this rules, but this Coca-Cola company was reluctant to tell its secret formula to the government. So that is the reason it left the India. So as per these rules, the company has to tell, all the companies which are present in the India has to tell their secret formulas to the government, but this company was reluctant to tell all this secret formula. So that is the reason it left the India in 1977. So finally I can conclude that, so it came to India for the first time in 1956 and it left the India in the 1977 because of the FERA rules, Foreign Exchange Regulation Act, means it has to tell even its secret formula to the government, but it is not told. That is the reason it is left in the India in the 1977 and again it came back to the India in the 1993. So up to now it is present in the India, Coca-Cola company. So now we are going to solve the 14th question. See the question here. Green Revolution is also called as a, so out of the four options, which is also called as a green revolution? Option D, seed, fertilizer, water, technology. All these things is also called as a green revolution. So let's discuss something more facts about this one. So now we'll discuss some of the important facts of this green revolution. So the father of the Indian green revolution. So the father of the Indian green revolution is M.S. Swaminathan. This person is basically an agriculture scientist. And father of the world green revolution is Norman Borlaug. Norman Borlaug is the father of the world green revolution. This green revolution, this word was firstly used by this William Gard. So William Gard is the first person to use the term green revolution. So here the meaning of the green revolution is very simple. In the olden days, what has happened is, earlier in India the agriculture was very less, means the people are not able to get sufficient food to eat all over the country in our India. So all our people are not going to get the sufficient amount of food. So therefore what they thought is, we have to increase the agriculture land. So by using the agriculture land, they thought that the food production will be higher, but that is not the case. So therefore what they did is, so initially the India was a food deficient economic country, means lot of amount of food is deficient, means all the people in the country are not able to get the sufficient food. So what has happened is, now the India has introduced the green revolution. By this green revolution, what has happened is, now the India is changed to a world leading agriculture nation, means the production in the India of agriculture is very high when compared to the remaining countries. So this India became the world leading agriculture nation, means we are going to convert the normal agriculture to a industrial agriculture, means we are going to use the high amount of modern technology. So by using the modern technology, we are going to increase the the quantity of the food. Means we are going to use like high yielding variety seeds. So high yielding variety seeds are used, and also the modern tractors and the pesticides and the extensive use of the pesticides and also fertilizers. So all this technology, the modern technology was introduced in the agriculture. So because of this, the food production was increased. So in the olden days, they thought that in order to increase the agriculture food, they have increased the land for the farming. But that is not the case. We have to use the modern technology and the modern variety of the seeds, tractors and the pesticides and fertilizers. All this the modern technology, if we use in a proper manner, even in a small amount of land, we can produce a large amount of quantity of the food. This was known, and then this green revolution was brought to India, and the food was very high. So therefore the food production was very high. Now the country India became the world leading agriculture nation. So this is the meaning of the green revolution. Means by using the modern technology, we are going to increase the production of the food in our country. So therefore here green revolution is also called as the seed, fertilizer, water technology, because in this period from 1950, this green revolution was started in India in the 1950 to 1960. In this period only this technology was introduced in a very high manner. So therefore what has happened is this technology is green revolution is also called as a seed, fertilizer, water technology, because we are going in this green revolution, we are going to use a high yielding variety of seeds and also extensive use of fertilizers and extensive use of water and different modern technologies. All these things are used in this green revolution. So that is the reason it is also called as a seed, fertilizer, water technology. And this green revolution is also called as the third agriculture revolution. This green revolution came to India in the period 1950 to 1960. So in this period only our country became the food deficient economic country to the world leading agriculture nation because of using this extensive modern technologies. Now we will discuss some of the schemes which are under the green revolution in India. Some of the schemes under the green revolution in India which are MIDH. MIDH is nothing but Mission for Interior Development of Horticulture, and NFSM is National Food Security Mission, NMSA National Mission for Sustainable Agriculture, SMAE Submission on Agriculture Extension, and SMAM Submission on Agricultural Mechanization, and also SMPPQ Submission on Plant Production and Plant Quarantine, and ISACES Integrated Scheme on Agriculture Census, Economics and Statistics, and ISAC is nothing but Integrated Scheme on Agriculture Cooperation, ISAM Integrated Scheme on Agriculture Marketing, and also NEGPA means National E-Governance Plan, and SMSP Submission on Seeds and Plant Material. Means all these schemes are present in India in order to improve the agriculture, means in order to use the modern technology, so that the agriculture production can be increased further and further, so therefore the country India can become the world leading in the agriculture. So these are some of the schemes which are used present in the India right now. So now we are going to discuss the last question of this lecture. See the question here. Blue economy is related with. So what is the meaning of the blue economy? So what are the four options? Option A, ocean resources. So this blue economy is going to relate with the ocean resources. So let's discuss something more facts about this one. So now we'll discuss some of the important facts of this blue economy. So blue economy is nothing but preservation of the marine environment. Means no matter whatever you take from these oceans, whatever the resources available in the oceans, still you need to take care of this ocean's health. That is the meaning of the preservation of the marine environment. See, as per the World Bank, blue economy is nothing but the blue economy is a sustainable use of ocean resources. Means you have to use the ocean resources in a limited manner for the economic growth. If you use the ocean resources, the economic growth is also improved and improved livelihoods and jobs. So because of the oceans, lot of fisheries also there and also lot of transport. So because of these things, the livelihood and also jobs of the persons are increased, and also while preserving the health of the ecosystem. So no matter whatever you take from the oceans, you have to still take care of this health of the ecosystem of the marine. So therefore from the oceans we are going to get the renewable energy and also the fisheries and also the marine transport facilities is also available on the oceans, and also tourism. Lot of tourism is also present in these oceans, and also climate change. So this helps for not having a bad effect on the climate change, and also the waste management. You see, lot of waste is also dumped in the oceans. So therefore, you must not dump too much of waste. So therefore, these oceans will get degrade. So therefore, you need to control all these things. So therefore, you can prevent the marines too. You can preserve the health of this marine ecosystem. So therefore, oceans are an important carbon sink. Means blue carbon. Especially these oceans are going to act like a carbon sink. So therefore, a lot of amount of carbon can be sink in the oceans, and also it helps to mitigate the climate change. So therefore, if oceans are not there, means there will be a lot of climate problems. So therefore, without these oceans only, all these climate problems will be solved. So therefore, this term, the blue economy, for the first time it was used by this term was used by the Guter Polly. So Guter Polly is the first person who used this term blue economy in his book. The book name is The Blue Economy, 10 Years, 100 Innovations and 100 Million Jobs. So because of this blue economy, lot of millions of jobs are going to gain, and also lot of innovations in the coming 10 years. This is a book which is written by this Guter Polly in the year 2010. So in the 2010, he is the first person who used the word blue economy. Means we have to preserve the marine ecosystem from degrade. Even though you use all these resources from the oceans, still you have to use in a limited manner. So therefore, the ocean's health will be improved. And also, the first global conference on sustainable blue economy was held in the 26th to 28th of the November 2018 in the Nairobi, Kenya. So the first conference on this blue economy was held in the Nairobi, Kenya on the date 26th to 28th in the November 2018. So therefore, in this blue economy conference also, they have discussed what are the measurements which have taken in order to take care of the health of the blue economy, means oceans. So the health of the oceans can be what are the measurements we have to take in order to take care of the health of these oceans. All these things are discussed in this conference. So the blue economy is nothing but it is going to relate with the oceans. Means we have to take care of the health of these oceans in a greater manner. So therefore, then only lot of problems can be solved. So by this lecture, we have successfully completed the 50 questions which are the previous year TSPSC of the General Studies questions in episode 3 in a very detailed manner. And if you like the content of our channel, then please do like, share and subscribe our YouTube channel, and don't forget to press the bell icon button. So whenever you upload a new video, the direct notification comes to mobile. If any improvements in our lectures, then please do comment in the comment section. We will definitely include all those improvements in the coming lectures. Thank you so much for watching this lecture. Keep smiling, take care and bye bye.